At the risk of spoiling everything way too early in the video, you get to be Dolores. You get to be Dolores. Everybody gets to be Dolores. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Hello, my friends. My name is Andrew Fantasia. Welcome to Thumb Together TV. Today we're going to be talking about WESTWORLD Season 3, Episode 4, The Mother of Exiles, Together. As usual, if you enjoy this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and give some love to that subscribe button as well. Or subscribe to my 3 other identical channels that are all exactly also me. Again, spoilers. The Mother of Exiles, another title that I don't quite understand the meaning of, just like last week's The Absence of Field. I don't know. Are they computer terms? Are they philosophical terms? Are they both? I don't know. Tell us, Nolans and Joy, at some point. I don't need to know right now. I mean, it's not urgent, but it'd be nice to know what this means. I can slip into a cocktail party one day when this quarantine's over and be like, hey, you guys want to know what the Mother of Exiles means? It'll be dope. This got off to a slow start, but then, once it reached its zenith, boy howdy. We just spent the last 3 episodes following individual plot lines and the individual characters involved in them, and it's been cool, but it's been very separated. But now here, everything is finally starting to converge at what I like to call the freaky wasp masquerade sex auction that we see. The future is weird, and rich people are even weirder. And a couple of the plot lines at least finally came to a head there, and boy was it ever cool to see that fist fight between Dolores and Stubbs, which it's kind of odd to me because the last time Dolores and Stubbs met, even though it was the Tessa version of Dolores, Charloris, I think that's what they're calling her online, was on that beach at the end of season 2 where he basically said, hey, I'm a robot. It's cool. You can go ahead. She's on the list. She's on the list. Now, obviously, Bernard programmed him to kind of do what he says, so maybe Stubbs just doesn't have any choice in the matter. But I think it's funny that Dolores didn't even try to, have some kind of persuasion going on or be like, hey, I thought we were friends, man. What the hell's going on here? No, they just tore into it like a couple of comic book characters. And that was a really good fight, too. They were just beating the crap out of each other. I don't know if it's been established in Westworld, and if it has, somebody chime in the comments and let me know when it happened, because I forget. But do the robots, because of the fact that they are robots, have some kind of superior strength physically? Like, can a robot just lift more and punch harder? I can't remember if that's a thing on this show, but it feels like they can take more damage, because when these two were slugging it out, I mean, Ashley Stubbs is a big dude, and he cracks Dolores in the face. She's just like, oh yeah? And she comes back for more. Like, it was crazy the amount of damage these two were able to take. And Stubbs also got thrown off that railing, and he seemed to come out okay in the end too. I think we didn't really see what ended up happening with him. We also finally got to see William again. And the thing with William, guys, is it's still raising more questions than it is answers. The biggest questions are where his sanity is concerned. He is racked with guilt over shooting his daughter, so now he keeps seeing her ghost everywhere, and it's just driving him crazy. And he's also in his house, in the real world, all of a sudden. So my biggest question of the week, question number 1, is plain and simple, what the hell is the deal with William? And I would like that answer in a chronological sense at some point too, because Dolores shoots his fingers off, and then he follows her and Bernard down into the forge, and he's all bleeding and stuff. But then when he gets down into the forge, it's the far future, and he's like super in the future, and he's a robot there. He's kind of like the copy of James Delos, but also he's here in the real world with the same finger wound, and he's being taken care of by Charlotte, even though we didn't see him leave the island on any kind of raft or anything like that. So he's off screen, been transported back home from Westworld. He's got the same wound. I don't know, is any of this really happening? It must be, because it's tying into the story that's happening actually in the real world. It is ballistic. It just makes things more confusing in a show that is already very confusing. I just want to know, plain and simple, where and when William is. And what's weird about the way this episode tackled William, particularly the way it ended, is that if you look at it, you could theoretically end William's story here and never see him again for the rest of the series. He's just resigned to his misery and his craziness in a cell in an insane asylum somewhere. You could just kind of close the book on William here and be like, hey, that's it. This guy messed up his life. He is paying the price now. Do I think that's what the show is going to do? I hope not, because I just want the answers in regards to William, and I know the answers in the grand scheme of things aren't as important as the character, and the character does seem to be bookended here. It would be nice to at least just figure out how the hell he got from point A to point B. Point A being the far future, stuck in Westworld, and point B being safe at home with Tessa taking care of him. What's going on? Also, why do I keep referring to her as Tessa? Her name is Charlotte in the show. You're distracting me with your beauty, Tessa. That's what happens every week. But the big twist to end all twists here is that those pearls that Dolores brought that we've been racking our brains trying to figure out the identities of, turns out all of those pearls are copies of Dolores. Now that was a very neat little twist, and it was all coupled up together with getting to see Musashi again. Hiroyuki Sanada comes back. Now he's like a Yakuza boss, but psych, it's Dolores in there as well. She somehow took over the Yakuza at some point. So she's in him, she's in Charlotte, she's in Connell's, and from what I gather, there's one more pearl out there somewhere that's unaccounted for. I can't remember if she stole 5 pearls plus Bernard or 4 pearls plus Bernard, but regardless, there's at least one more Dolores copy out there somewhere unaccounted for. So my next question is kind of a compound one. It's how many other pearls are left, and where are the other Dolores copies? This is going to lead to some really mind-bending stuff, which is totally par for the course for Westworld. So even though it was a shocking twist, I am not shocked that something like this ended up happening. And I'm going to end this video by throwing out my next Westworld theory. This is a big one, folks. I believe at least one of the Dolores copies is going to turn against her. Look, plain and simple, this show has always been about free will and making your own choices. That's the whole point. So when you suddenly have multiple copies of the same free will, that's cool, but that doesn't necessarily mean all those copies are going to make the exact same choices. That's just improbable. Something is going to happen to one of these Doloreses, mark my words, that is going to make them second guess the whole giant revenge scheme that Dolores Prime is orchestrating. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's probably the one inside Charlotte, because she seems the most malleable right now. She seems like she could turn because of how vulnerable she is just in this particular state, which means that at some point in the future, Dolores Prime is going to have to deal with not only Maeve and Serac and Rehoboam, but also an alternate Dolores with alternate goals. I guarantee you it's going to happen. This could not get me more excited. I love this so much. Until then, all we can do is sit and speculate and look forward to next week and wonder just what the hell the Mother of Exiles means. But anyway, that has been the Mother of Exiles of Westworld Season 3, Episode 4. I'm Andrew Fantasia. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you here next time, and until then, adios.